Hello folks, today I am here to talk about the $5 trillion miracle. How NVIDIA rebuilt the world. It's 1993. Three engineers walk into a Denny's restaurant in San Jose. They slide into a booth, order coffee, and start sketching on napkins. They have $600 between them. One of them is a 30-year-old former dishwasher who used to work at this exact restaurant chain, scrubbing plates for minimum wage while studying engineering. Fast forward 32 years. That $600 idea is now worth $5 trillion, more than the GDP of Japan, India, and the United Kingdom combined. More than the combined value of every single one of its competitors: AMD, Intel, Qualcomm, ARM, etc. That former dishwasher is none other than Jensen Huang, founder CEO of NVIDIA, whose net worth is over $160 billion today. The architect of what many call the intelligence age, the man whose chips power ChatGPT, self-driving cars, and the AI revolution reshaping every industry on Earth. But here's what nobody tells you. This wasn't a smooth ride. This was a 30-year war of survival, failure, near bankruptcy, and bets so risky that Wall Street thought Jensen was insane. So how did a company that was weeks from death multiple times become the most valuable company in human history? That's what we're uncovering today. It starts with a boy who cleaned toilets. Jensen Huang was born in Tainan in Taiwan on February 17, 1963. His father was a chemical engineer, his mother a school teacher. Every single day, his mother would open a dictionary, pick 10 random English words, and teach them to Jensen and his brother. A mother who barely knew English herself, preparing her sons for a future in America. When Jensen was 5, the family moved to Thailand for his father's career. But with the Vietnam War raging and political tensions high, his parents send their boys to America ahead of them. In 1972, 9-year-old Jensen and his older brother boarded a flight to Tacoma, Washington. 2 children, alone, flying to a country they'd never seen. Their uncle wanted the best for them. He'd heard about a school in Kentucky he thought was a prestigious boarding academy. He was wrong. The Oneida Baptist Institute was a religious reform academy for troubled youth. Kids with criminal records, serious behavioral problems. 10-year-old Jensen, an undersized Asian immigrant with long hair and a heavy accent, found himself in a boys' dormitory surrounded by troubled teenagers. Jensen was assigned to clean toilets every single day. But here's the thing about Jensen. Even at 10 years old, he found opportunity in adversity. His intimidating roommate couldn't read. So Jensen made a deal. I'll teach you to read if you teach me how to bench press. A 10-year-old immigrant teaching a teenage delinquent to read in exchange for weightlifting lessons. That's Jensen Huang in a nutshell. He didn't just survive, he thrived. He learned table tennis and by age 15 placed 3rd in junior doubles at the US Table Tennis Open Championship. 2 years later, his parents finally made it to America and pulled their boys out. The family settled in Portland, Oregon. Jensen was so academically advanced, he skipped 2 grades and graduated high school at 16. He still needed money, so he got a job at Denny's as a dishwasher. To this day, he talks about it with pride. When the stakes are at their highest, Jensen has said, "My heart rate actually drops." At Oregon State University, he majored in electrical engineering, the youngest kid in every class, looking like he was 12. It was there he met Lori Mills, a fellow engineering student who would become his wife and partner in everything. After graduating in 1984, Jensen worked at AMD, then LSI Logic, while getting his master's from Stanford at night. By 1993, he knew the semiconductor industry inside and out. He had an idea that would change everything. The $600 breakfast that built an empire, April 5, 1993. At Denny's in East San Jose. Jensen slides into a booth with Chris Malachowski from LSI Logic and Curtis Preem, a graphics chip designer from Sun Microsystems. They were obsessed with a problem. Traditional CPUs were designed to do one thing at a time, like a single brilliant mathematician solving problems sequentially. But video games and 3D graphics needed thousands of tiny calculations happening simultaneously. Their vision? Build a specialized chip that would work alongside the CPU to handle parallel processing. Not one brilliant mathematician, but an army of mathematicians working together. The graphics card market in 1993 was a bloodbath. Over 35 companies fighting for the same customers. Most would be dead within a decade. And Jensen wanted to enter with $600. But he didn't see a crowded market as a problem. He saw proof that the opportunity was real. They just needed to be better than everyone else. They named the company NVIDIA, derived from the Latin word invidia, meaning envy. Jensen wanted competitors to turn green with envy. That wasn't marketing, that was a statement of intent. With $40,000 in seed capital from VCs, they started building. They convinced venture capital firms to invest $20 million. And then they got to work on the most ambitious graphics chip anyone had ever attempted. They had no idea how close they would come to losing everything. Jensen has a saying that defines NVIDIA's culture. Our company is always 30 days from going out of business. NVIDIA faced multiple near-death experiences, any one of which could have ended them forever. The first one is NV1 disaster in 1995. For 2 years, NVIDIA worked on their first product, the NV1, using quadratic texture mapping, a mathematically elegant approach to 3D graphics. The problem? While NVIDIA was building around quadrilaterals, four-sided shapes, Microsoft was developing DirectX using triangles. When Microsoft released DirectX, triangles became the industry standard overnight. Every game developer started building for triangles. Every other graphics company followed. NVIDIA had spent 2 years and millions building a chip nobody wanted. The NV1 was obsolete before it launched. The company went from 100 employees to 30. They were weeks from running out of money. Lesson learned. Being technically elegant doesn't matter if you're not building what the market wants. Then came the Sega lifeline. In 1996, before the NV1 disaster became clear, NVIDIA had signed a contract with Sega to develop chips for their next gaming console. As Jensen realized their architecture was fundamentally flawed, he faced an impossible choice. He could keep working, collect the contract money, and delay the inevitable. Or tell Sega the truth. Jensen chose honesty. He went to Shoichiro Irimajiri, CEO of Sega of America, with an extraordinary request. Cancel our contract. Our architecture is a failure, but if you don't pay us what you owe, NVIDIA will die. The audacity, admitting failure, asking to be released from obligations, and asking to be paid in full. But radical honesty sometimes works. Irimajiri respected Jensen's transparency, cancelled the contract, and paid NVIDIA $5 million anyway. That money gave NVIDIA 6 months to completely reinvent themselves. The infamous Riva 128 gamble in 1997, 6 months and $5 million to build something new. Jensen made a bet-the-company decision. Build the Riva 128 from scratch, fully compatible with DirectX, using triangles, everything right this time. But they didn't have time to test hardware properly. Normally you'd build prototypes, find bugs, fix them, build more prototypes. That takes years. NVIDIA had months. So Jensen's team did something revolutionary. They simulated the entire chip in software first. Nobody had ever successfully brought a chip to market this way. If it worked, they'd save months. If not, they'd waste their last dollars on a dead chip. It worked. The Riva 128 sold 1 million units in 4 months. NVIDIA was saved. Jensen learned, when fighting for survival, you take risks safer companies won't. Milestones that helped NVIDIA to invent the future first is the birth of the GPU October 11, 1999. NVIDIA released the GeForce 256 and called it something new, a graphics processing unit. The GPU. Previous graphics cards could draw pictures, but relied on the CPU for the hard math, transform and lighting, figuring out how objects look from different angles, how light bounces off surfaces. The GeForce 256 moved all of that onto the graphics card itself. In compatible games, it was up to 50% faster than anything else. Gamers loading Quake 3 Arena or Unreal Tournament felt like they'd never truly seen these games before. What nobody realized, by creating a chip that handled thousands of parallel calculations, NVIDIA was building the foundation for artificial intelligence. They just didn't know it yet. NVIDIA went public in 1999. When the stock hit $100, Jensen celebrated by getting a tattoo of the NVIDIA logo on his arm. Second, the futuristic bet of CUDA. By 2006, NVIDIA dominated gaming graphics. They could have kept making better gaming cards forever. Most companies would have. But Jensen noticed something. Scientists worldwide were hacking NVIDIA's gaming GPUs for scientific simulations and complex calculations. They were treating gaming chips like supercomputers. Jensen decided NVIDIA shouldn't just tolerate this, they should enable it. In 2006, NVIDIA launched CUDA, Compute Unified Device Architecture, a software platform that let anyone use GPUs for general-purpose computing, not just graphics. Wall Street hated it. CUDA was expensive, didn't immediately generate revenue, and required billions for a market that didn't exist yet. Analysts said Jensen was wasting money on science experiments. Jensen didn't care. He saw a future where GPUs would power everything from oil exploration to medical imaging to weather prediction. In 2007, they launched Tesla, not the car company, a line of GPUs specifically for scientific computing, with their flagship server priced at $129,000, marketed as an AI supercomputer in a box. Most people thought he was crazy, but the future was cooking. Another milestone in 2012, at the University of Toronto, Professor Geoffrey Hinton had worked on neural networks for decades, AI systems inspired by the human brain that could learn from data. The problem? They needed enormous computing power. Traditional CPUs couldn't handle them. Most researchers had given up, but Hinton had two brilliant graduate students, Alex Krzyzewski and Ilya Sutskever. Their idea? Train their neural network on NVIDIA GPUs. Using CUDA, Krzyzewski wrote code harnessing the parallel processing power of two GeForce GTX 580s, gaming cards you'd buy at Best Buy. They entered the ImageNet competition, where AI systems try to identify photograph contents. Their system, AlexNet, achieved a 15.3% error rate. Second place, 26.2%, not close. Absolute domination. AlexNet proved NVIDIA GPUs were the brains AI needed. Every major tech company started buying NVIDIA chips. Jensen's billion-dollar bet on CUDA had paid off. He hadn't just built better gaming cards, he'd built the foundation for the AI revolution. Then came ChatGPT explosion November 30th, 2022. OpenAI releases ChatGPT. Within 5 days, 1 million users. Within 2 months, 100 million. The fastest growing application in internet history. Every corporation, government, and research institution woke up to the same realization. AI isn't coming. AI is here. And if you don't have it, you're left behind. One problem. ChatGPT was trained on 10,000 NVIDIA GPUs. If you wanted to build your own AI, compete with OpenAI, integrate AI into your products, you needed NVIDIA chips. Lots of them. And NVIDIA was the only company that could provide them at scale. Before ChatGPT, NVIDIA was worth about $400 billion. Then the frenzy hit. June 2023, $1 trillion, our first semiconductor company ever to achieve that. February 2024, $2 trillion. June 2024, $3 trillion. Jensen's net worth crosses $100 billion. July 2025, $4 trillion, our first company ever to reach this milestone. October 29th, 2025, after Jensen announced 500 billion orders, NVIDIA valuation reaches $5 trillion, the first company in human history to reach $5 trillion. NVIDIA's stock has risen over 1,500% in 5 years. Jensen is now 62, worth over $160 billion. Time magazine has named him one of the 100 most influential people, twice. Fortune's Business Person of the Year, ranked as the world's best performing CEO. He still wears the same black leather jacket, as iconic as Steve Jobs' turtleneck. He still runs NVIDIA with the same intensity. With 60 direct reportees, most CEOs have maybe 10. He demands intellectual honesty in meetings, where "I don't know" is acceptable, but "I didn't try to find out" is not. His vision has evolved. He no longer talks about graphics cards. He talks about AI factories, massive data centers that produce intelligence like power plants produce electricity. We are at the dawn of the AI industrial revolution. Jensen said recently, "It will define the future of every industry and nation. This is our generation's Apollo moment." He and Lori established the Jensen and Lori Huang Foundation in 2007 with $300 million. Today, their foundation assets exceed $12 billion. They've donated $50 million to Oregon State, $30 million to Stanford, $2 million to that Kentucky reform school. And here's a fun fact. Jensen is related to Lisa Su, CEO of AMD, NVIDIA's biggest competitor. They're first cousins. Two of the most powerful people in semiconductors competing against each other share the same blood. The first industrial revolution was powered by the steam engine, the second by electricity. The third, the one we're living through, is powered by artificial intelligence. And NVIDIA? They didn't just build the engine, they built the entire power grid. What can we learn from NVIDIA's journey? 1. Great things come from humble beginnings. Jensen cleaned toilets at a reform school and washed dishes at Denny's. 2. Survival requires brutal honesty. When the NV1 failed, Jensen didn't make excuses. When the Sega contract was doomed, he told them the truth. 3. The biggest rewards come from the biggest risks. CUDA, simulation-first chip design, betting on AI a decade before anyone else. 4. Stay paranoid. Even at 5 trillion, Jensen believes they're always 30 days from going out of business. That paranoia keeps them hungry, innovating, ahead of competitors getting comfortable. 5. Build for the future, not just the present. In 1999, the GPU. In 2006, CUDA. Each time, building for a future that didn't exist, a future they helped create. That's it, folks. I hope you found this story incredible. If yes, hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments. What's your biggest takeaway from Jensen's journey? I will bring more such revolutionary stories about influential persons, companies, to help you get inspired and motivated. See you in the next video.